What if the biggest thing holding you back isn't your lack of talent or your lack of knowledge, but your need to feel ready? Think about it. How many dreams have been delayed because of these words? I'm not ready yet. What if I told you the people you admire most started long before they felt prepared? Meet Ryan. Ryan had a dream. He wanted to start his own online business, not because he wanted to become rich overnight, but because he wanted freedom. Freedom over his time, freedom over his future, freedom over his life. The problem wasn't a lack of opportunity. The problem wasn't a lack of information. The problem was much simpler. Ryan believed he needed to be ready first, so he kept preparing, and preparing, and preparing. He watched tutorials, read articles, bought courses, took notes, created plans, made schedules, and convinced himself that all this preparation was progress. But deep down, something wasn't right. Months passed. Ryan knew more than ever before, but his life looked exactly the same. Because knowledge without action changes nothing. You can study success for years, but until you move, nothing moves. One day, Ryan noticed something strange. People who knew less than him were already succeeding. Some had less experience. Some had less knowledge. Some had fewer resources. Yet they were making progress. And he wasn't. At first, he became frustrated. It didn't seem fair. How could people with less knowledge get better results? Then he realized something. They had one thing he didn't. They were willing to start imperfectly. Most people think confidence comes first, then action. But reality works differently. Action comes first. Confidence comes later. Nobody starts confident. Confidence is built through experience. Think about learning to swim. Would reading 50 books about swimming make you a swimmer? Of course not. At some point, you have to enter the water, and the same rule applies to life. That day, Ryan made a decision. He stopped waiting for confidence. He stopped waiting for certainty. He stopped waiting for perfect timing. And he finally did something he had avoided for months. He started. What happened next completely changed the direction of his life. The first thing Ryan created was terrible. The design looked amateur. The content wasn't impressive. And the results almost non-existent. But for the first time in months, he wasn't just preparing, he was doing. Most people would have quit right there because reality didn't match their expectations. But Ryan had already learned something important. Success doesn't belong to the people who start perfectly. It belongs to the people who keep going imperfectly. Week after week, Ryan kept showing up. Some days were productive, some days weren't. Some days he felt confident. Some days he doubted everything. But unlike before, he kept moving. And then something unexpected happened. The fear that once stopped him started getting smaller. Not because the fear disappeared, but because action was becoming stronger. This is what most people never understand. You don't eliminate fear before taking action. You eliminate fear by taking action. Waiting for fear to disappear first can keep you waiting forever. 3 months later, Ryan wasn't an expert. He wasn't wildly successful, but he was no longer standing still. And that alone changed everything. Because momentum had finally entered his life. Most people underestimate momentum. They think success comes from one big decision, but success usually comes from hundreds of small actions. Actions repeated again and again, even when nobody is watching. Looking back, Ryan realized his biggest mistake wasn't failing. It wasn't making bad decisions. It wasn't lacking knowledge. His biggest mistake was waiting. Waiting to feel ready. Waiting to feel confident. Waiting to feel certain. Because certainty is a myth. Nobody knows exactly what will happen. Nobody has all the answers. Nobody feels completely prepared. The people who succeed simply learn how to move forward despite uncertainty. And that's when Ryan finally understood why successful people start before they feel ready. It's not because they're fearless. It's not because they're special. It's because they know something most people don't. Clarity comes from action, not before it. 6 months later, Ryan looked at his life and realized something strange. His results still weren't perfect. He still had problems. He still made mistakes, but he no longer felt stuck. For the first time in years, he felt alive. Because progress creates a feeling that excuses never can. The truth is, most people don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they spend too much time preparing for a life they're unwilling to begin. They wait for confidence, they wait for certainty, they wait for permission, and while they wait, life keeps moving. Think about where you are right now. How many ideas have you postponed? How many goals have you delayed? How many times have you told yourself, one day? The problem with one day is that it often becomes never. Ryan learned a lesson that changed everything. Action doesn't come after confidence. Confidence comes after action. The first step feels uncomfortable. The second step feels easier. And eventually, what once terrified you becomes normal. Most successful people aren't extraordinary. They simply became comfortable doing things before they felt ready. They learned how to move while uncertain, how to act while afraid, how to begin before they believed in themselves. And that's exactly why most people never catch up. Because they believe successful people have something they don't. More talent, more confidence, more intelligence. But often, the only difference is that successful people started. Imagine where your life could be 1 year from now. If you started today, not tomorrow, not next Monday, not next month. Today, 1 year of consistent effort can completely change your future, but only if the first day actually begins. Because here's the truth, you will never feel completely ready. There will always be uncertainty. There will always be fear. There will always be reasons to wait. And that's exactly why action matters. Ryan's life didn't change because he found the perfect opportunity. His life changed because he stopped waiting for perfect conditions. And the moment he stopped waiting, everything started moving. So if you've been waiting, waiting to feel confident, waiting to feel ready, waiting for the perfect moment, let this be your reminder. The perfect moment doesn't exist. The people who build great lives don't wait for readiness. They create it through action. Start before you're ready, because your future is built by what you do today, not by what you plan to do tomorrow. I want to know something. What's one thing you've been waiting to start? Write it in the comments. And after you comment, take one small action today.